Hi and welcome to my first watercolor video. In this video I'm going to demonstrate some easy flowers using a triangle brush like this. I've got a few sizes to try out and I really like these flowers. Let's start off with taping the paper to a board. I'm just using a clipboard so that I can move it around easier. So on this one it's not so important for the edges to be straight and equal width and all of that because I'm not going to fill the whole page with flowers. The reason I tape it down is for the paper not to buckle when it dries, but I won't be applying too much water, so it should be fine. So for this demonstration I'm using a triangle brush or wedge brush from Royal and Langnickel. This is the 10mm or 3/8 of an inch sen, and it's nice and silvery, shiny. I like shiny. But yeah, let's get to it. So first I'm going to have to mix up the color that I will be using. I'll do that very quickly. And here I'm making sure that I've got enough color in there, and I will be testing it on a scrap piece of paper to see that it's the right consistency and the right pigmentation that I want. Right, so for these flowers there are simple strokes. Now I'll start up in this corner right here to show you how this looks. So I'm keeping the brush at an angle to the paper, so if this is the paper, I've got the straight edge to the paper. I put it down on the paper, I drag it down a little bit, and I push it outwards, and then I pull it back and lift. See, that makes a nice sort of petal shape, or even a nice sort of leaf shape. So you can use this for leaves as well. Maybe just go in with a green afterwards and add a few of them. It can be really pretty. So I prefer to twist the page with me. So this one kind of went that way. So next one I'll want to go here. So that one goes there. This one will go down, over and down. So I'm keeping the angle of the brush sort of parallel to this edge of the previous petal. So I'll be starting off with the tip just in the corner there where I ended the last one. I will put it down, actually load it up a bit first. So I'll put it down parallel to it, drag it down just a little bit, push it out, and drag it down and lift up. Now I'll twist the page and do this for as many times as I want. I found that I like best to have 5 petals, but it all depends on what you want. So I'm just putting it down and dragging it towards me and lifting. So I'm putting it down parallel to this edge. So last time I did that motion, so this edge is what I'll be parallel to this time. I'm starting there, dragging it down a little bit, dragging it towards me, and then I'm straightening up and lifting. Now I find that my preference is to have this length the same length as this one. That makes for a more even petal, and it also makes for easier to get 5 petals on a flower, which is what I prefer. But play around with it. If you want narrow petals, then I'll show you another one where I do narrower petals, and then you can decide for yourself what you want to try out. I'd advise to try out both wide and narrow and these sort of shapes, just to get the practice and to get the movement in. But it's all up to you. So let's go with a more narrow. So if I start out here, I drag down, I drag towards me just a little bit, and then I drag out. See, it's much narrower. So it will be a much pointier flower, if that makes sense. So I'll try to do the same again. So I'm keeping this parallel. It makes for a tighter flower, I guess. So drag it down a little, over a little, and down and up. And I'm doing the same thing again, making sure that this is all dry so I can put my hand on it. That has happened before. I'm putting my hand on dry paint, wet paint, sorry. So there, that wasn't as narrow. Just going around, grabbing more paint when you need it. And there you got a 6-petal flower. Now let's try a wider stroke. So let's just mix up the color. The watercolor set that I've got has a tendency to separate, so I need to mix the pigment with the water again to make the color more even. It's rather annoying, but that's not how all of the watercolors behave. So I'm hoping to get a new set of watercolors one day. Not today though. Not today. Right, so I'll do a wider one over here. I'll go down, and I'll go over, and down and left. And I'll go, again, I'll go parallel to this to sort of get the same somewhat of a consistency between the 3 flowers. Might actually be too close to the other flowers, but let's just roll with it. Down, over, and down and left. So we go down, over, down and left. That got caught a little bit. So I'll go catch a little bit more pigment. will be parallel. We go down, over, down and left. And we've got the last petal for this one, which is down, over, down and left. So here you've got the 3 different flowers demonstrated. Now I'm going to wash this brush and show you other sizes. So I've got 4 different variations on this brush. This is for acrylic and watercolors. So this is my favorite. It's more stiff to work with, so it's got more of a hold. So I feel that I have more control with this one. Now, if I take this, which is compared to this is 10 millimeters in width. This is 13, so this is ½ an inch. And when I wet this up, it is so much softer, which in my book accounts for less control, but also for holding more water. So this is just for watercolor. The other one was combined for acrylic and watercolor. Now on the same, I've got this tiny little brush. That one is 1/4 of an inch, 6 millimeters. So it's under half of this. And yeah, this one is sometimes very moody. Let's say moody, because it doesn't always work with me. But I quite like it. Now, speaking of moody, I've also got this. This is a sword by Daler and Brownie. It's ½ an inch, so it's the same size as this one, but you see the angle is much steeper on this one than it is on these two. So the sword one I find to be more awkward to use, but I'll get more into that later. I'll do a few more flowers with this one and the little one, and then I'll go on to talking about the sword. So this is ½ an inch, 13 millimeters. So it's the same again. Find out what angle it is, keep the flat bit to the paper. So you can see that the edges are much straighter over here, where I've got the slightly more rigid brush. And here you can see where I'm not steady on the hand. You can see irregularities along the edges, not so much on this one, but definitely on this one and on this one. So with this one you definitely see all of the insecurity you may have. Right, let's do one more before we move on to the tiny one. Quite cute, but cute doesn't always mean practical. But it does mean smaller flowers, which are cute. So let's make one more We go down, over, down, down, over, down. So I think that went better. I'm just a little bit out of practice maybe, but yeah, I prefer that one by far, but this one is quite good. Right, let's go on to this little one. So, same thing all over again. Don't like it too wet because then I get the pooling on the ends, and I am not sure I like that effect. Anyway, let's start with a small one up here. So same thing again, keep the flat edge parallel to the paper, put the brush down, go over, pull it down and up, still get the pooling. Twist the page to make it easier, otherwise you have to kind of do this at the end, and it's really tricky, believe me. This is the second tape of this demonstration, let's call it that, demonstration. Just because the first time I taped it on straight to this one, which doesn't really move easily, so I was trying to angle the brush and hand, and yeah, it just didn't work as well as I wanted it to. Now down, over, down. Now with practice you can get along with any brush, I am sure, but I think I would advise to start off with a stiffer brush because it makes it easier to control. Okay, so I am not entirely sure what happened with the video as I finished this, but it didn't record this, which is made with the solid brush, and it didn't record any of the leaves. Now, that is very annoying, and I have no idea why. So I'll summarize this on another piece of paper. So yeah, the sword brush is much pointier of an angle, which makes for an awkward hold. So with this one, you hold it like that to the paper to get the straight edge down to the paper. Now with this one, you have to hold it like this. Now maybe that will show up better on video now that I've been able to rewatch the video, but it doesn't make for a very comfortable painting. But what I have noticed with it, so if I just get it wet, get some green that I've got from the leaves, is that you can make various slices of these types of petals with this. So you can do like a huge one. So this is the 1/2 inch, which is the same as this one. So it's the same width, but because the angle is steeper, you get a much wider length of, so the width of the brush on the paper is bigger, so it basically makes for bigger petals. So you can go with all of this down parallel to the paper. You go a little bit down, go over, and there you go, like that. Yeah, so you can do that. You can also just touch it with a few of the bristles. So instead of going all down, I'll keep it like this. So instead of going like this and making that sort of width, you can go on a more towards the 90-degree, not quite there because at that point you'll only get small strikes like that. But you can go on something in between that and get a different one. So you can go from there, getting very thin lines, to here, getting thicker lines, to here, getting even thicker lines, to here, getting the full width. So you can then go from this size to that size, and all with one brush. Now it's definitely more difficult to keep control over, and the edge where you don't touch everything down might go a bit blurry because some of them might touch and some like here you've got these that kind of suddenly come on set, and then you've got a gap there because they don't really, it's not hard enough pressure for those. But yeah, it's possible. So you can see this as well. You get the extra one every once in a while, but overall it's not that bad. So you can get a variety of different brush strokes. So that, get that, can get that. You can also get these. But yeah, that's basically what I wanted to go through with this one. So I find it much harder to control than the other brushes, even though it's stiffer. It's just too awkward of an angle. Now, yeah, back to the piece that I did here. The flowers made with this one is this flower with like huge petals. So I quite like how it turned out, but I don't fancy working with this brush as much as others. And I also made this one, which just turned out a little bit awkward, but it works. It works. With the leaves, I went in with my favorite one, which is the combined acrylic one. And yeah, I just made some quick petals, quick leaves, just by doing the same thing as I did with the petals. So yeah, sorry about the mess on the film. I am new to the whole filming and making YouTube videos, so please give me a pass on this one and the next, because yeah, I sat down in a oneer trying to do three different videos straight after each other. I didn't check the footage, so I didn't see that this one was off. I didn't see that I basically am missing the next one, which is this. And I also missed a lot of the footage of the one after that. So, moral of the story, go download the videos very much more often than I did. And also keep an eye on the battery because yeah, that also ran out at some point. Newbie mistakes. But yeah, I promise to do my best to get better at this. But yeah, as I said, I'm totally new to this, so please do give me a pass. This is so satisfying. But it's so much more fun when you have a whole wash and all the edges are just so clean because you just pull the tape off. This is just normal masking tape, and if you kind of drag it off right the opposite way, flat to the paper, I find that it tugs the paper less. So I just take the edges and I fold it back on itself and I drag it off. And you can see nice straight edges, and imagine when you then have like a full wash of color on the paper. It's so nice. Just like that. It also keeps the paper from moving, which is the main reason why I'm using it on this one, because it's not wet enough to buckle an awful lot, and if it does buckle, it stretches itself out. But yeah, this is the finished piece. So thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to stay posted on what's coming next on my channel, then feel free to subscribe. Thank you, bye!